Would you mind just telling me your name and introducing yourself?
My name is Mitch Feierstein. I'm a fund manager. I've been in finance for over 30 years. And I've worked on Wall Street, I worked in Tokyo, and I've been in London for the past 15.
Can you tell us about what your new book is about?
My book is called Planet Ponzi, and basically it explains the debt situation, the global debt situation that I think is underreported. I realize that looking at Wiener's genitalia and Spitzer's stuff is a lot more attractive to the general public, but I think that people need to think about what the debt really is. The quantitative easing program is like a giant roach motel with a big welcome sign. But the problem is there's no exit strategy, as we've seen with the taper tantrum that just happened in the markets, where interest rates went up 100 basis points, which cost $200 billion for the Fed's debt service. So as the debt service gets bigger, the debt becomes unpayable. This is an issue that needs to be looked at, and my book tells the telling tale that nobody wants to talk about. Especially mainstream media doesn't want to pick up on it.
What do you think is the most underreported fact going on right now? What do you think is the most hidden thing when it comes to all this debt that we're all in?
Well, I think that you've got to look at the unemployment picture and what's happening to the youth. I mean, there's $1 trillion in outstanding student loans, and if you look at unemployment in the 20 to 24-year-old regions, it's north of 20%. And the calculation for unemployment statistics is a problem in the US, because the number that you should be looking at is the U6 number, which spiked last month from 13.8 to 14.3. So we've spent $25 trillion in global central banking money, printing money that's got to be repaid at some point. And basically the US government with taxpayer dollars is speculating massively. And when interest rates go up, there's going to be a big penalty to pay, and it's going to make the debt unsustainable. But the dialogue that needs to happen in the United States is about the debt and how we're going to move forward. Unfortunately, it looks like they'd rather shift the deck chairs around on the Titanic and play some music.
Yeah. I heard that analogy many times when it comes to the current economic situation. Where do you see things going? Where do you think things will end up, and how do you see it unfolding?
Well, interest rates have to go higher because we've got a zero boundary. So if you go back to the 1980s and you look at a chart, I'm happy to provide you with one that you can use for this clip. Interest rates have come straight down. So you're not going to go below zero, but on the entire ride down, a huge amount of debt has been amassed. So when they ratchet back up, because they have to, when you get inflation eventually, you're going to have a point in time where the debt service becomes unsustainable, and that's a big issue, and that needs to be addressed. We need to address the addiction to debt. You can't spend 4 times more than you make. I mean, as an individual, if you did that, you'd be in a catastrophic state. So people need to really think about that, and they need to think about what needs to be done to move forward.
What do you think is the most hidden aspect? What do you think is the most hidden fact about everything that's happening right now? I mean, obviously we're in debt, but what information do you think is being hidden from us that is most important?
It's not necessarily being hidden. I think that you need a clear explanation in, not in econ speak. Like, my book will tell the story in normal people. It's actually pretty funny. It's out in 6 languages now, and it tells the story. It leads you through, and it's not conspiracy theory because there's 40 pages of endnotes, and I encourage people to look at stuff. The issue is you can make a statistic say anything, and statistics are really telling. So if you look at the way they report the numbers and the reality of the numbers and the numbers behind the numbers, then you'll get a better picture as to what's going on. I mean, the GDP numbers, if you look, are truly frightening. I mean, Europe is in a depression. Nobody wants to use the D word. You haven't heard that anywhere. But Italy has had so many consecutive quarters of negative growth. They've got 28% youth unemployment. In Spain, you've got 55% youth unemployment. It doesn't take a genius to figure out the amount of debt they have, they can't service, and they can never repay it. So you will have sovereign defaults. Cyprus was the model for the sovereign defaults in Europe, where they go into the banks and they take any deposits over 100,000 euros. So sanctioned confiscation of deposits. A Cypriot euro is not worth the same as a euro elsewhere because they have capital controls in that country, so you can't take your money out. It's a giant roach motel. So this is going to spread, and there's no way that they can stop it because they haven't deleveraged the bank's balance sheets in Europe. They're just kicking the can down the road. That works until you hit a wall. The wall that I see is a zero boundary in interest rates. But this needs to be part of the national discussion. I know that legalization of marijuana has been all over the papers, and that's really important to a lot of people. But I think that and the other topics are the 5 Ds, as I would call it. It's divert, deflect, deceive, deny, and you figure out the last one.
Mitch, thank you so much. The book is called Planet Ponzi. Check it out if you get a chance. This is Rudkowski reporting from London, England. With the Bilderberg Group.
We're not doing any press today.
No questions?
No.
What'd you do there? All we want to know. When are you going to apologize for destroying this economy, Mr. Bernanke?
Not you.
That's really because of the banksters looting the economy for their own personal benefit and creating a crisis. The government here in Northern Ireland has decided to spend over £2 million on this bullshit.